What's up everyone, today we're going to talk about whether you should get the Sony ZV-E10 or the Sony ZV-1 because inquiring minds need to know. In this video we'll go over the feature set, differences, sensors, focal range, stabilization, photography, and video. Let's get to this, and right off the bat we'll go over the common features of these cameras. MI hot shoe for flash or microphone. 20 megapixels, fully articulating screen, 4K 8-bit 420, tally light, picture profiles, built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, webcam capability, blurry background, product showcase, and soft skin modes. And I can really use that soft skin. That's where the similarities end, and here are the differences. The ZV-1 has a BSI stack sensor while the ZV-E10 has a conventional CMOS sensor, and this is important, more on this later. The ZV-E10 has a headphone jack and USB-C 3.1, while the Sony ZV-1 has micro USB 2.0, and the ports feel like a device made on December 1999. The Sony ZV-1 weighs in at 294 grams compared to 459 grams for the ZV-E10, which is ridiculously lightweight for an APS-C camera with lens. The Sony ZV-E10 uses FW50 batteries, which is rated for 440 shots, while the ZV-1 uses a much smaller battery, which is rated for 260 shots. Actually, there's one more thing I forgot. The ZV-1 does this, 24 frames per second. That's all for the differences. Now let's talk about the sensor. Bigger is better, right? Well, not exactly. The ZV-E10 uses an APS-C size sensor, which is 3.2 times bigger than a 1-inch sensor.
3.2 times bigger,
giving you higher image and video quality. However, the ZV-1 uses a state-of-the-art stacked CMOS sensor, which is essentially performance-enhancing drugs for cameras. The ZV-E10 is an interchangeable lens camera, so you can have a field day with your choice of lenses. With the E-mount system, your lens choice is virtually unlimited, and so is your potential spending. This hobby can cost a lot of money. Just be aware of what you're getting into. Lenses are not cheap. Some even cost more than the camera itself. I see what you did there, Sony. Going back to the stack sensor of the ZV-1 means that you have minimal rolling shutter. The readout is very fast. With the ZV-1, you'll be using electronic shutter all the time. With the ZV-E10, you'll have to revert to using the mechanical shutter most of the time, and it's a moving part which is more likely to break over time, like my windows, blinds, and toilets after having a family. Next up, let's talk about the real focal lengths of these lenses. The 16-50 is a 24mm full frame equivalent, while the ZV-1 has a 26mm equivalent lens. This means that if you're hand holding your system for vlogging, it may feel a little bit tight. However, on the flip side, when you're walking, active stabilization on the ZV-1 crops much less than active stabilization on the ZV-E10. So the feasibility of walk and talk videos, I mean, who even vlogs still? It means that it's a little bit harder to use these cameras in the field. I know in practice that the ZV-1 does work fairly well, especially with the wide angle lens and a mini tripod. Wider angle exists as an additional accessory. How does it look? Next up is the photography aspect of it. Both cameras can shoot over 20 megapixels, which is very respectable. The ZV-1 has minimal rolling shutter, while the ZV-E10 has a lot of rolling shutter, and this is due to the stacked sensor of the ZV-1 compared to the conventional sensor of the ZV-E10. This means I can shoot under artificial lights with the ZV-1. However, the ZV-E10 you will have to revert to using mechanical shutter. Another plus for the ZV-1 is 1/32,000 shutter speed. Yes, you can go to that insanely high shutter speed, while the ZV-E10 goes only to 1/4000, which is okay if you're using only the kit lens. Should you start taking advantage of the E-mount system, that might bite you in the butt. It's just going to be a little bit more hassle. And it brings you to another point. The ZV-1 has an electronic ND filter, while the ZV-E10 does not. And this can be really useful for video when you want to lower your shutter speeds. The END is really nice to have. And now, since we're on the subject of video, both cameras do blurry background, soft skin, and product showcase. all nice features. There are also more advanced features like memory recall and picture profiles, allowing you to grow with both of these cameras. The main differences with these cameras is that the larger sensor typically looks better. However, the smaller sensor has an ace up its sleeve, and that is slow motion. The ZV-1 can go up to 960 frames per second for a 1 second shot burst, and it is an extremely cool feature to have. Small camera with very high fun factor because of that slow motion. HD 120 is slow, but 960 is ridiculous. So which one is for you? And if you want to keep things simple, stick with the ZV-1. It has a built-in zoom which has pretty good range. The slow motion features are really handy to use, and it's a true pocketable camera. It's a shame that the ZV-1 did not have a true successor. That touchscreen can use some improvement. The rolling shutter during video, which is artificial, I'm sure, should have been fixed, and I'll be waiting for a true successor. The ZV-E10 is more for people who want to get into APS-C for a really low price. This camera goes for $699 brand new, $799 with kit lens, which is only $50 more than the ZV-1. Literally the lowest cost Sony APS camera on the market. And it's a full 3.2 times bigger sensor. The Sony ZV-E10 with lens changing ability means that you can change your point and shoot style camera into a higher production A or B camera with Sony's state-of-the-art autofocus system. And if you already have a lot of E-mount lenses, the ZV-E10 can be really appealing. I think Sony is trying to rewrite the narrative. Give me a second. There you go. They're trying to rewrite the narrative when it comes to budget cameras, and that's what these ZV lines vlogging cameras are, because it's much cooler to be a vlogging camera than a budget camera. So these ZV cameras, they have the 1-inch sensor, they have the APS-C, and I think they'll probably come out with a full frame version as well. Maybe call it the ZV-E1 or ZV-FE1. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Like, sub, share. See you in the next one.